Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age has now released, and I bet one of the first questions on your mind is, well, how can I get the strongest weapons available in this version of the game? Well, it's actually a rather pertinent question, as there have been quite a few new weapons added since the original version of Final Fantasy XII, so learning how to acquire these new weapons is therefore rather important. For you international Zodiac job system players, things should be a lot more familiar with the Zodiac Age, but they have still decided to rename some of the stronger weapons that were added in that version of the game. So gone is the ode to Final Fantasy with the naming conventions, and in its place are weapons named after the Hindu calendar, and I'm going to try my best at pronouncing them correctly throughout this video. Anyway, to keep things simple, I'm going to run through the strongest weapon of each discipline, hence only 14 weapons, but I'm also going to mention some other decent candidates too in passing. I'd also like to point out that for the purposes of this video, even though there is a new beastly shield in this version of the game, that makes sense to feature alongside armor and equipment, so that's something we may do in a follow-up video. Likewise, we will also be excluding rods and measures, as they aren't really damage dealing weapons. Hand bombs are also being excluded as they just aren't very good. Alright, so my name is Dal, and here are the 14 strongest weapons in Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age, starting with Trango Tower. This is one of the two new ultimate weapons that was added into the International Zodiac job system, and it was given its name due to Hiroyuki Ito's fondness for rock climbing. For your reference, the Trango Towers are a family of mountains that can be found in northern Pakistan. Anyway, in the context of the Zodiac Age, the Trango Tower is a one-handed sword that has 153 attack power, more than any other melee weapon in the game. And as you'd expect, it's therefore pretty tough to get. You have two options here, and in both instances, probability is not your friend. Option 1 is that you go for the 3% chance to steal it from the optional fight against Zodiac. And option 2 is that you try and luck out and get it from a chest in the Pharos Subterra, where there's only a 2% spawn rate on the chest, and as you'd expect, there's an even lower chance that it will actually be in the chest should it spawn. Your odds of acquiring it through this route are about 1 in 5,000. Neither option is stacked in your favour, but if you want to take the time to acquire the Trango Tower, then you will gain a seriously overpowered melee weapon that becomes invisible when you use it. Seitengrat. This is the other new ultimate weapon that was added into the International Zodiac job system. It's a very, very strong bow that has incredible range and incredible damage, 224 attack power to be precise. As a result, you've guessed it, it's pretty damn hard to acquire, and you'll want Lady Luck to be very much your friend if you're going for it. To up the ante, the developers decided to have Seitengrat appear in an invisible chest on the air deck of a sky ferry. You will only be able to find the treasure chest by randomly bumping into it, but it only has a 1% chance of spawning. If it does spawn, then that's where things get interesting. If you don't have a diamond armlet equipped, the Seitengrat just won't appear in the chest. Instead, you're pretty much set on getting a small amount of gil or a knot of rusts. If you do have the diamond armlet equipped, then your odds are said to be 1 in 10,000, should you even happen to bump into the chest in the first place. Like the Trango Tower, it's also named after a mountain range and is also invisible when you equip it. Tournesol. For those who remember playing the original game, given all the other changes, you will be pleased to hear that the Tournesol is still the best greatsword in the game, at least in my opinion. There are some who believe the Worm Hero Blade is better due to its passive bravery and faith and its better combo rate, but for me, it's just too slow, and the Tournesol has slightly more attack power, 138 against the Worm Hero Blade's 131. Unlike the two previous weapons, acquiring the Tournesol is a bit more straightforward, but it's still not that straightforward. You have to purchase the Sunflower from the bazaar after selling 3 pieces of Gemstone, 3 Imperial Souls, and 3 pieces of Serpentarius. It's also worth noting that in the Zodiac Age, only the Night Job can use the Tournesol. Kumbha. This weapon was previously referred to as Masamune Eye in the International Zodiac job system and didn't even appear in the original version of Final Fantasy XII. It's very much the ultimate katana in the Zodiac Age. Not only does it have 117 attack power, unlike all the other katana in the game, which are two-handed, the Kumbha is a one-handed weapon. But despite this, all katana, including the Kumbha, can only be used by the Bushi job. Due to the inclusion of the Kumbha, how you acquire the basic Masamune has now been changed in the Zodiac Age. It can now appear in a treasure chest in Lusu Mines or as part of the Hunt Club. The Kumbha therefore takes its place in the bazaar, where it is known as the Master Crafted Blade. It can be bought for 350,000 gil after selling 2 gemstones, 3 orichalcum, and 2 mallets. Yagyu Dark Blade. One of the classic weapons from the original Final Fantasy XII, the Yagyu Dark Blade is still very powerful in the Zodiac Age. Technically, the Mesa, known as the Orochi N in the International Zodiac job system, does have more attack power, but in this version, the Yagyu Dark Blade is now the only ninja sword to have the Dark Elemental effect. It can still be acquired as a 3% drop chance from bomb cells in the Lucian mines, but for the Zodiac Age, it can now also drop from chests at the Great Crystal in Guruvegan or at Crossfield in the Sorobi Steppe. Ninja swords can now only be used by the Shikari job, so bear that in mind if you're looking to hunt down the Yagyu Dark Blade. The Zodiac Spear. This was the ultimate weapon in the original version of Final Fantasy XII, and it was pretty drama fueled how you got to acquire it. Thankfully though, that horrible treasure chest mechanic has been removed for the Zodiac Age, and it therefore can't be found inside a chest at the Necrol of Nabudis. Instead, the Zodiac Spear can now be found in a chest in the special charter shaft in the Hen Mines. There's a 1% spawn rate on the chest, but if it does spawn, it's guaranteed to contain the Zodiac Spear. You can also acquire the weapon from the Hunt Club by giving trophies to the Bangar brothers Attack, Block, and Stock. I should note though, that due to the inclusion of the Trango Tower and the Seitengrat, the Zodiac Spear is no longer the top dog weapon in this game. It's still by far the strongest spear though, and it can only be used by the Ulan job. KANYA. In the Zodiac Age, KANYA replaces the Whale Whisker as the strongest polearm available. It offers 112 attack power, while granting 35 evade and a 10% chance of casting Immobilize on any enemy that you attack. It can be purchased from the bazaar for 60,000 gil after selling 3 Mithril, 3 Corpse Flies, and 4 Aquarius gems. And this weapon can only be equipped by characters who are using the Monk job. TULA. Moving on to some ranged weapons, we have the TULA, which was previously known as the Gastrophetes S in the International Zodiac job system. It has 91 attack power, making it one of the strongest ranged weapons in the game, and it can only be equipped by characters who are using the Time Battle Mage job. It can be acquired in one of 2 ways. Firstly, from a treasure chest in the Station of Suffering in Pharos, and secondly, as a reward from the Hunt Club. MITHUNA. Our next weapon is the best gun in the game. It was called the Aldebaran Y in the International Zodiac job system, and it replaces the Fomalhaut as the best gun from the original game. It has 66 attack power and that customary slow charge time. However, it does add 25 evasion, unlike all the other guns, which only add 10 evasion. You can acquire this weapon from the bazaar after selling 2 Emperor Scales, 3 vials of silver liquid, and 8 earth crystals. It will cost you 120,000 gil. Now, although the Shikari job can use some guns, the MITHUNA can only be equipped by characters using the Machinist job. Golden Axe. Before I begin, I'm going to go on a slight tangent here and just say that this was an amazing side-scrolling beat-em-up back in its day. It's a real shame that this happened, and that Sega hasn't been able to figure out what to do with it since. Anyway, back onto the Final Fantasy XII weapon. This was the strongest axe in the original game, and it is still the strongest axe in the Zodiac Age. However, its stats have actually been boosted up slightly. It now offers 120 attack power as opposed to 110, and its combo rate has been increased from 3% to 6%. If you want to acquire this weapon, you've got quite a few different options. It appears in treasure chests in the Sorobi Steppe and the Necrol of Nabudis. You can steal it from Reavers and High Reavers in Pharos, and you can also get it from the bazaar by purchasing the golden battle axe recipe for 10,000 gil. For your reference, only foe breakers can equip this weapon. Vriska. This is another of the weapons introduced in the International Zodiac job system, but for that version of the game it was called the Scorpion Tail F. The Vriska features 133 attack power and has a 20% combo rate, much higher than all the other hammers in the game. You can acquire it from the bazaar by purchasing the Scorpion. However, you'll need to hand over 3 Gizzards, 3 Worm Bones, and 4 Scorpio Gems, as well as 70,000 gil. As with the Golden Axe, this weapon can only be equipped by characters who are using the Foebreaker job. Mina. Introduced in the International Zodiac job system as the Shikari's Nagase F, for the Zodiac Age, it has been renamed the Mina and can only be equipped by the Shikari job. It's an extremely powerful dagger that has 104 attack power, but has a 70% chance of instantly killing enemies you attack. To acquire the Mina, you need to farm Lava Eaters, from which it has a 3% chance of dropping. In the original version of the game, you had to do the same thing to acquire the Danjuro, a dagger that has since been removed from the game. Byblos Bone. This was a fresh new weapon that was added into the International Zodiac job system, as opposed to others I've mentioned, which were just upgraded forms of existing weapons. It features 100 attack power and offers 10 evade. You can acquire it from treasure chests inside Site F of the Lucy Mines or the North Sword in the Sorobi Steppe. You can also get it as a rare 3% steal from Yizmat if you're up for the challenge. For your reference, the only job that can use the Byblos Bone is the Red Battle Mage. Staff of the Magi. Last on the list, we have the Staff of the Magi, the ultimate weapon for the Black Mage job in the Zodiac Age. It improves potency with various elemental magic spells and can be acquired in numerous ways, from treasure chests in the Sorobi Steppe or Great Crystal, as a 1% drop from Oversouls in the Necrol of Nabadis, or via the Hunt Club. And if you're looking to power up your Black Mage, you will definitely want to acquire this weapon. So that's 14 of the best weapons in Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age, as well as how you can obtain them. How many of these weapons are you going to try and obtain? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. And if you'd also like to help this channel continue to grow, please consider supporting us on Patreon. You can find out more information at patreon.com/FFunion. These amazing folks have already chosen to support us, so why not consider joining them? Alright guys, this is Daryl signing out. I hope to see you next time for more videos.